All right. Hello, everyone. And this is the Global Empowerment Team. And we are live here on Facebook. And today we're going to bring you some more value. We're going to bring you some more nuggets, some more boulders to drop in. So this is one of the things that we talk about all the time is, being aware of the different investment strategies, growth mindset, um, growing generational wealth. So that's one of the topics. Well, actually, that's the topic that we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk about a area that uh, you can get started. You can, like as of ASAP, like today, like yesterday, reach out to a local professional. We do have a local professional on our call today. So before we get to that, and before we get to discussing what the full agenda is today, introduce my brother, my co-host, my counterpart, Mr. Khalil Macklin. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. As my shirt says, execute excellence. So I'm just continuing to execute my excellence. I love conversations like this because it's near and dear to my heart. As you and others know, I'm a licensed life insurance agent. So I spend my time talking to people about different retirement strategies, just thinking ahead. A lot of people think for today. They really don't think for tomorrow, especially thinking for their children's tomorrow or their grandchildren's tomorrow. And today's conversation will kind of put in place for people to effectively not only take care of themselves, but if you do it right, can take care of 2, 3 generations down the line. I don't know about you, but that feels real good to me to know that
Exactly.
my kids are not only taken care of, but the things I've done have taken care of my grandchildren who are not even here yet as well. So excited about today's conversation, man. How's your Thursday going, B?
Man, it's been back to back all day, but it's been productive. It's been meaningful. I've actually had a great day, man. I've had a great day, had a lot of great conversations, and just like you said, man, it's all about leaving that legacy worth living, right? And so we talk about that all the time. So, we're going to continue to create opportunities for our audience to dive in and fully understand the scope of what that term is and what it means to us. That's my big why. My little guy, 5 years old, and understanding that what I do now is going to take care of him when he's my age, when he has kids. And I want to instill that in him that, each one teach one, execute your excellence. When we do that generationally, as you learn from your father, as you learn from the tools and the things that I've learned from my father, bringing them down to him, and then have him implement that down into his children, so and then being able to touch, like you said, generations on down the road. So yeah, so I want to go ahead and introduce our guest today, and we're going to have that conversation around what that looks like for you and your family and your legacy. Mr. Lee Curry, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine, man. How you doing, Benny?
Man, everything's good. Everything's good, man.
Man,
Let me
I'm
see your
glad.
let me see your three, Lee.
On my three, the
I
three
mean,
is
it's Curry.
good.
You a Curry, so I'm assuming that you got the 3 pointer.
Man, I was shooting them before Steph was around. The three is good. You
Yeah,
know, actually,
I
actually,
saw you and your
Benny,
wife working out, so
I,
I know you got it.
I was about to say that. We work out. We work out. I work out 4 days a week, and she works out five. And you know, uh, everybody need a coach. We need to be coached on everything that we do in life. We need a coach. LeBron James is one of the baddest basketball players in the world, and he has a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. Kobe Bryant had a coach. We need coaches and mentors, and I think that's where we failed our community. Is not having coaches and mentors. And I say all that to say is we have somebody that's working us out, because I've been working out for years, but the progress that I'm seeing by being accountable to somebody is making all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
accountability. We always talk about accountability. Benny and I mention
accountability.
accountability all the
Mhm.
time, and like you said, that's why Benny's into what he does. He's not just real estate agent and investor and all these different things. As you know, he wears many different hats. But one of the main things is accountability. He takes accountability with things, and he's a coach. He coaches people on those different accountabilities, which is
Right.
why I gravitate towards him, because he never ceases to take a coaching moment with his little brother and show me a
Mhm.
couple of things. So
Yeah. And that's what we're supposed to do. You know, like when I was a kid, all the OGs would tell you where to go get a job, and you know, to go down here and this place is hiring, go over here, you know, and these days we don't have that. And you know, like with everything that's happened with us, you know, as a people, you know, not having property, not creating generational wealth, you know, we all start off at zero, you know. We come into the world at zero, where other people, they have, you know, grandpa left me a policy and it's worth this amount of money and this and that, and they have a leg up, you know.
Yep.
But we start off at zero, you know, and it's a detriment to us, you know.
Right.
And we're not, it's not ingrained in us to take care of our business financially, you know.
They start off at a 20, like you said. A lot of others start off at a 20. We starting off at a 0, which is why Benny and I started this format, man, honestly, and which is why we bring people from different genres, different walks of life, different industries, different varieties of thought process, is because there's multiple ways to diversify your portfolio, your way of thinking, your growth mindset, your strategy. It's not one right way that you should be doing things. If you're doing it right, you should have a multitude of things that you're actually doing to make sure you get to that place. So what you just said is a summary of why we started this show. Benny said it, each one teach one. So right. I'm excited to have this conversation, just to talk to people about the important role, but the people think it's a large step, but it's really a small step, but the important role that first small step of having a conversation about life insurance, what that truly plays in transforming your mindset and truly starting to leave that legacy that can last generationally.
Right. Proverbs 13:22.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, share that.
Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You know, so it's in the word. You know,
that's one of my favorites. Yeah,
definitely it's in the word.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, and kind of I want to share your story, because I've heard it a number of times, and you know what we're talking about here are things that we talk about all the time on the show, and that's why we had to get you on here, because you know we're definitely like-minded individuals. Iron sharpens iron, and all the conversations I've had with you thus far in the short amount of time that I've known you, I felt like iron has been sharpening iron. So I want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and let them know where your position is, what your licensing is, and kind of talk about, and then from there I want to dive into your story. You know, what brought you from where you were to where you are now?
Okay, so I was born in San Francisco, and not the San Francisco that everybody sees. You know, the San Francisco you see on TV and all of that. We didn't come from that area. You know, I grew up in the southeast corner of San Francisco, not too far away from Candlestick. You know, you can actually hear on a Sunday, if I stood outside, you can hear the roar of the crowd if the Niners scored a touchdown. You know, and growing up there and being in the San Francisco Public School District, you know, you just kind of slid through. You know, so I never really applied myself as a young kid, and you know, I just kind of went through. I went in the Army, and that was like a wake up. Leaving out of San Francisco, that kind of woke me up to a different, seeing different life, seeing how people live different. You know, because there's a lot of people that grew up with me and that's growing up now in San Francisco that never leave the block, and so you never have a good perspective of the whole world and how that's being run, and then dealing with people from outside your community. And so came back, and I started working at the Postal Service, and I worked there for 27 years. And it's crazy, because the things that I'm doing now is all some of the things that happened back in the post office that's carrying me right now. You know, when I first started, they had just started this thing, the TSP account. And I didn't even know what a 401k was. And so I started putting $100. They told me, if you put $100 a month into this account, we'll give you 40, because, you know, they match some of it. And I started doing that religiously. No matter what was going on, I was putting that money in. But I made mistakes as I went along. I used to borrow from it. And I would just on a whim just borrow $5,000 when I had the money built up. But the biggest mistake I made in my early investment years was being safe. You know, I put my money in and I said, I don't want to lose no money. And so I had mine in the one that was paying 2% interest. And so my money never really started to grow. And they used to mail us these, they would mail us the statements, and I would look at my statement and I seen this investment over here that was paying 15, 16, 17%. And I was getting 2. And I asked myself, why, why am I not over here? And it was because I wasn't informed. And we live in the information era now. So there's no excuses of not knowing something when we can just simply go to our cell phone and get the answers. But then cell phones wasn't as technical as they are now. So I got me a computer and I started learning and I moved my money. I remember I had a buddy and me and him talked about it. He was like, man, I don't want to lose no money. But in reality, Benny, I ended up losing. When I left there, just starting with $100 a month, I had about $250,000 after borrowing and doing everything that you can do wrong, because I finally took my money out of the 2% and put it in something that was going to start to pay some interest. Power of compound interest.
Right.
And so I'm a living testimony that it works, and it's just getting people to understand, because people want to do like the Robin Hood and all of that stuff. And that's all well and good, if you just want to play around with that. But I like to say, if it's money that you just letting rest, you need to let it rest someplace where it's going to work.
Right. Yep. Right.
Definitely. If you let it rest someplace where it's going to work, it's going to make you some money, because they got this thing right now going on with Robin Hood where they didn't suspended buying.
Yeah.
You can't buy right now
because some of the hotter stocks.
Yeah. But that's like a bubble, because GameStop is one of them.
GameStop. It went from $25 to $300. It went from $25 to $340 overnight.
But GameStop is Blockbuster. GameStop is Blockbuster.
People
because
think Blockbuster went out of business. They just went on over and put more effort into the GameStop industry is all.
But so if
same business system.
Yeah. You look at Netflix. Netflix came with a whole new. I remember when Netflix used to get it in the mail and you mailed it back.
Right.
And so that was better than what Blockbuster was doing, because Blockbuster, you had to go get it. And now Netflix is all totally online. They changed with the time. Blockbuster, these are those big old cassettes. They didn't want to change. They kept their same format and they ended up going out of business. And it's the same thing with GameStop, but that's why it's a bubble, because GameStop is not really a healthy company for the stock to be that high. It's GameStop is on the way out, so it's artificially blown up. And the thing about stocks is, once you buy it, for you to get rid of it, you got to have somebody that want to buy it from you.
Exactly. And like you said, they were a company that was already about to file bankruptcy, if not already filed it. It took a $20 stock to $340. So if you bought it at $300, now it's dropped down to $215 or something. You've already taken a loss on a stock that you thought was jumping up, not realizing it only jumped up because Reddit mentioned it in a Twitter feed. And that Twitter feed is what took off. And that's what made people then go buy a bunch of the stocks. While in the meantime, you got all these CEOs who have already been owning GameStop since the inception, and they bought it at $10, and they probably sold some of their shares at $300, which means you just made the top people a little more top heavy than what they're supposed to be. And I love these conversations because, as you said, Lee, I tell people all the time, the ultimate goal, start your own business, be a business owner, learn how to diversify taxes, save some money, put your money to use, and learn these strategies. But that's not in the cards for everybody. Some people are put your head down, work at UPS, work at FedEx, work at Kaiser type of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I tell them, understand that 401k, that 403b, that 457. Understand if they have a pension. Understand that they match you money. Understand the difference between a traditional 401k and a Roth 401k. Understand the tax implications. Understand that the maximum you can put in one may be 19,000, the max you can put in the other one may be 6,000. What are those different ramifications on your whole portfolio?
Right.
Once you really start maybe getting a grasp of that, like you said, you'd be surprised, $100 a month. That's what allowed me at 38 years old to retire from Kaiser. The same strategy you said. At 25, I met somebody who told me, what you doing with your 401k? I said, a 401 hay? And they said, nah, man, it's a 401k. Hay is for horses.
Right.
And I went and looked it up, and I got as aggressive as possible. I said, I'm young. I got time to recuperate. The market is going to fluctuate and do ups and downs, but there's going to be more ups than downs. And I want to capitalize on those ups. I don't mind the downs. Now, as I turn 50, 60 years old, get closer to retirement, I want to have somebody like a Lee or a Khalil or a Benny in my corner to tell me, maybe you want to be a little more conservative with some of that aggressive investment, because you want them. Maybe now 2.5% sounds good when I'm 65 years old.
Right.
But when I'm 20 years old, 2.5%, I don't want that. I want 15, 20%. I don't mind the risk. And I just wish more people would take the time to understand a lot of these jobs, if that's your route, they do offer certain platforms for you to do like Lee did and save $250,000 in a 15, 20 year period. But we got to be mindful enough and educate ourselves to know what's in front of us. Once we take that step, that's when I can then meet Lee and have another conversation about something completely different.
Right. And you guys both, I mean, you guys both brought this up too. And you mentioned the rule of 72, Lee. And so, you know, during our meetings over the last couple of weeks, most people don't even know what that term means, right?
Right.
So what we like to do on this show is we like to get real simple, and we like to lay out the steps that people can follow, or and introduce them to the people that they can reach out to, so that way they can get dialed in and be able to change the narratives in their family. So let's speak to that, because that rule right there is actually is basically what both of you guys are talking about, with starting early, recognizing the ROI, so the return on the investment, and over a certain amount of time, how that then grows and benefits your initial investment.
Compound interest, eighth wonder of the world, right, Lee?
That's what Albert Einstein said. He who learns it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And you know, as African Americans, we end up paying it because we get car notes that are and they charge us 15, 16% interest on our car note, and we put our money in the bank and they don't even give us 1%. And we got to flip the script. We got to put our money where we can make 15, 16%, save up enough money so that you can buy a car. You can put enough down where you can buy down that interest rate on that car loan. Because if you have enough money, you can deal with whoever's selling you that car and not have to pay no 10, 15% interest, because you can tell them, I'm just going to walk out of here. But, you know, the rule of 72 is, you know, I had never heard of it, but what I figured out was it was working in my life, even though I hadn't heard of it. Once I started to put my money someplace where it started to work, you know, and Albert Einstein was a real smart guy. And he said, you know, you take the number 72. I don't know how he came up with that number, but you divide it into the interest rate that you get, and it tells you how long it takes for your money to double. And, you know, most of the time we keep our money in the bank, and the bank is not even giving us 1% interest. You know, they're just not. I talk to people and they'll say, I'm getting 2%, 3%. And you don't want to just bust their bubble, you know. So sometimes you can get a bank sheet, you know, from the bank, and you can just show somebody like, no, you're not getting 2%. You don't even get 2% on a CD anymore. You know, you used to get 2% on a CD, but the banks are stingy. You know, even though we bailed them out and all of that stuff, they're not letting you make no money. They're not going to do it. They're going to fee you to death, and they're not going to give you interest on your money. I had $4,000 in my savings account. They gave me 73 cents interest, 73 cents. And it was insulting, you know. But sometimes, you know, you want to just say, I want this money right here just in case. It's no just in case. You know, you need to put your money somewhere where it can start working. You need to make the rule of 72 work in your life. And the rule of 72, you know, it's just a simple rule. You divide the interest that you're getting. And so if you're not getting 1%, then we know automatically it's going to take 72 years or longer for your money to double. If you're getting 1%, it's going to take 72 years. How many 72 years do you have? Most of us only have one. You know, ain't nobody being Methuselah anymore and living to 400 or 500 years old. You know, we lucky if we 75, 80 years old. You know, we're blessed. You know, shout out to Cicely Tyson. Also, rest in peace, because she went home to be with the Lord this evening. I just heard it on the news. But you know, and she lived to be 94. And most of us, we don't have that time. You know, but the key to wealth building is to pay yourself first. You know, we have to pay ourselves first, and it should be the 80-10-10 rule. You know, if you're a believer, then you put that 10% in church, and you take that other 10% and put it into your savings, which is your saving vehicle, and the other 80% is for you to live on. And if we can do that, and then if we can start getting some land, you know, that's the key. You know, I see that, you know, any city, any big city, USA, they put us in projects or Section 8, you know, and so we never acquire wealth, you know, and you have to acquire wealth. I believe that if we acquire wealth, power is going to come with that, you know, more power. But as a people, collectively and individually, we need to take it upon ourselves to start learning about what a yield is in a bond. What's a dividend? What's the interest rate for borrowing money? We need to know all of these things as a person, and then that way you're not. There's a lot of people. I met this lady. She was like 70 something years old. She worked at Walmart, and she told me the saddest thing I ever heard. She told me, I got to work here till I die. And I just thought, like, I was like, this ain't the way it's supposed to be. At 70 years old, you should have your feet kicked up somewhere. But what I realized is that she made mistakes coming up, and she didn't put money away.
You know what those mistakes are perpetuated upon is the lack of resources and education, though. It's not even that we do make mistakes, but it's because when we're 20 years old, we don't have a Lee to come and tell us, you know what I mean? Or if a Lee does come in, I don't identify with Lee because he's too old. I'm not listening to Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee don't know you're talking. Like, we got this big misconception to where it's not, and we make the mistakes, like you said, because we don't have that same level of education to where now we start back at that zero. Right. Because it's just not instilled in us. And that's what people like you trying to change. That's why we bring you on the show, because we know you're trying to change that misconception and let people know 10%. You pay yourself before you pay them bills. Before you pay any bills, you pay yourself. That's the way the structure should happen, is when your paycheck comes, that money automatically goes out and you make that 80% work. Because if not, what's going to happen is PG&E, AT&T, DirecTV, Verizon, renter mortgage, car insurance, renter's insurance, groceries, all those entities going to come in your pockets and they're going to dry you up and they're going to leave you with $10 and you'll never find a way. And then you'll be in that same misconception as that lady, thinking I'm going to work forever, because when she get paid, she never pays herself first. Right. Mm-hmm. We got to get in the mindset of saying, you know what? And that's where my life changed, Lee. I met a guy, no joke, I was 25 years old. It was a guy looked just like you. He came to one of my seminars at Kaiser. And he sat me down afterwards. He loved my presentation. He said, what are you going to do to make sure you're not griping about money like everybody in your seminar? I'm telling them Kaiser costs $78 a month. And they like, man, $78 a month? I can't afford that. And I'm like, it's $78 a month. Like, for healthcare, that's pretty inexpensive. Right. But I'm in the heart of Oakland. Everybody look like us. $78 is a bit to come by when you only bringing in $1,600 in Social Security, and that's it. Right. So he says, what are you doing to not put yourself in that same situation? And I said, nothing. What do you mean? What am I doing? I work every day. He said, man, I'm telling you now, life got a way of going by. You're going to be 65 years old, God willing, before you know it. If God grants you the time and the serenity, you will be 65 and it's going to go by like that. And He said, if you don't find a way to put your money somewhere right now to ensure you got enough money to live off of when you're that age, you're going to be sad. So he said, Khalil, if you got $1, every time you got $1, and what you was just talking about, he was talking about is richest man of Babylon stuff. This stuff been around since forever.
Right.
It's not nothing new.
Right.
But he said, if you can put, like you said, 10 cents every time you make $1, could you save 10? He gave it to me plain. He said, if you had $1 right now, could you save 10 cents? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay. The other 90 cents, Khalil, I don't care what you do. You go buy you some Jordans, you go buy you a new ride, you do what you want. That 90 cents is for you to do what you want. Put 10 cents away. Can you do it? I said, yes. He said, now, could you do it every time you made $1? He still kept it plain. I said, yeah, 10 cents every $1, I could do it. He said, all right, well, how much money you making right now? And I told him. He said, all right, that means you could put $12,000 away. Now, my face changed, Lee. I look at him now like, you tripping, homie. I don't know what you're talking about, $12,000. You tripping. Right. And he said, well, Khalil, wait a minute now. What's 10% of 120? I said 12,000. He said, well, you just committed and told me that you could save 10 cents every time you make $1. Now you telling me you can't do that? And he put me on blast. And I said, no, I can do that. And he challenged me. And that's when I called into Kaiser and found out a 403B. And I still wasn't doing it right, like you said, because he just gave me that bit of game. He didn't tell me about Roth 403B. He didn't tell me about Roth IRAs. He didn't tell me about brokerage accounts. He didn't tell me about real estate. He just gave me that little bit of game, but it got me started to now start a traditional 403B. And as I started learning more about taxes, I realized, oh, they got a Roth 403B, this, that, and the other. But my point is, I started. I did the hardest part. And I start paying myself that 10%. And throughout my life, I kept doing it. As I got married, had kids, as I went through a divorce, I still stayed consistent with 10%. I never, ever stopped. And I made that 90%, that 80%, because I still tithe, like you said. I still made that 80% work. And my bills always are paid. Everything's taken care of. But now my retirement is ironclad because I've been saving 10% for 17 straight years.
Right.
And it's that simple mind shift. So I didn't mean to go down that, but you talking my language and I love you for it, brother.
But see, this is what I want to say to that, because he could have told you that and you could have went on your way. Right. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is powerful. So you applied the knowledge that he gave you. You got to apply it. You know, we can hear it all day long, but if we never put it into action, it's not going to happen. Like you could be having the reverse conversation saying, this guy told me 20, 30 years ago that I should be saving 10% and I never did it. But you applied the knowledge that he gave you. You know, like we try to get it out there, but at some point you got to do it. Yep. You know, we got to take the knowledge and apply it, because we'll all say knowledge is power. Applied knowledge. You got to apply that knowledge. You got to do something with it. And my hat's off to you that you did it, because there's so many of us that don't do it. You know, I spoke with a brother 70 something years old, and he told me, he said that he's on Social Security and he gets $600, $800 a month. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you live? How can you live on $800 a month? You know, like we have to be, you know, Social Security, they say it'll be gone by 2034.
Yep.
Do you have an IRA? If you tell me no, my next question is, are you working a job that has a retirement? You work 30 years, we're going to give you a watch. And they don't have jobs like that no more. We're going to give you a watch and pay you for the rest of your life, pay your medical. They don't do that no more. So if you don't have either one of those working for you, when you get older, and like you said, it goes by faster than you can ever think, what are you going to do to maintain yourself on a daily basis? We got to think further than the nose on our face. We got to think 10, 20 years out in advance of what's going to happen, you know? And sometimes when you sit down and you shock people, when you ask them their age and you ask them, what are you going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years? It shocks people because we walk around and we don't think about it, just like we don't think about death.
Yeah.
Right. Very true. Very true.
And
these are powerful conversations, man.
It's a conversation we avoid.
Yeah. And that's one thing we always talk about. And that was one of the main things that we wanted to make sure that we highlighted these kind of conversations every week, because these have always been conversations that have been taboo in our families for years. You don't talk about money. You don't talk about,
Yep.
retirement, and you don't talk about death.
Mhm.
Like my grandparents, they were wise enough to have life insurance that, took care of their burials, that took care of their ceremonies. They had their plots already taken care of. That's becoming not even the norm no more to even have that basic insurance. Now GoFundMe's are becoming the norm.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a sad situation to be in, because now, I've had so much loss in over this last year, people passing my age and a little younger. And it's and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, understanding the importance of what you're going to leave left, for somebody else, for the rest of your family, for your kids. Who's going to take care of the house note? Who's going to be able to take care of the food that's on the table for the kids? So those are powerful conversations that you have to have.
Yeah.
And you got to run to those conversations.
Yep.
Right. You have to face them head on.
Yep.
This is something that you definitely shouldn't shy away from, because sure as the sun is going to shine tomorrow, somebody's not going to wake up.
Yep.
Every day somebody's going home. And the sad thing is that so many people are dying that don't have life insurance.
Mhm.
Like it's really sad. So what you said earlier, like you learned from your parents and your grandparents. My dad always had medical coverage for us. I've been going to Kaiser since I was a young kid.
Mhm.
He always had medical coverage. He always had life insurance, and he saved his money. He just didn't know about investing his money. He
Right.
saved his money in a bank,
Right.
but my dad always had money. He always, you never see him broke, but nowadays life insurance is like something that, you can talk to somebody 40 years old and they'll tell you that my parents got life insurance on me. Well, you're a parent now.
Yep.
Mhm.
And if you're a parent now, you should do what your parents did,
Yep.
because there's no guarantee that my auntie, cousin got life insurance on me are going to take care of your kids like you do.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee about that, and so just as a people, we have to do better, as a people, we must do better. And it's not just African Americans.
Mhm.
This goes across all lines.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of people think that if I get life insurance, I'm gonna jinx myself.
Yep.
A lot of people think that if I get life insurance, I'm gonna jinx myself. And I don't know. I don't want to leave it for my wife, because she gonna meet
She gonna
somebody
get a
else.
new man. Yep.
Like such, it's so crazy. But we don't think that if you don't have life insurance, that body is gonna sit somewhere, and they're not gonna move it until there's some money there. My oldest daughter, mom, passed away in October of 19. Her funeral wasn't until November. She died in the beginning of October, and it was because we had that pass the hat insurance.
Yeah, you had fun. You had to fund it.
You got to pass the hat around. And then I had one of my buddies, man. Me and this dude ran for years. Close friend of mine. He died in 19, December the 31st. Didn't make it into the new year, and all he had was insurance from his job, and he worked at Safeway. Safeway is big all over the West Coast.
Mhm.
He died in December. His funeral wasn't until March. So that was all the time it took for the job to pay
out the policy. Yep.
And we just have to do better.
We got to do better.
We have to.
I need everybody watching this show right now, seriously, to be vulnerable enough to go have a conversation. And sometimes it's not even about the insurance on yourself. It's about, hey, mom, hey, grandma, hey, grandpa, hey, dad, hey, brother, hey, sister. Do you have life insurance? Because if not, what happens if you don't make it home? Is the mortgage paid? Do you have a will? Do you have a living trust? Is this going to probate? Are we still living here? What about, do you have debt? Is your college debt going to be passed on to me because I'm your spouse? Do you have credit card debt that's now passed on? What is really the situation for us to know? How are we going to bury you? Do you have burial insurance? Did you already pick out a headstone in the casket? It's not that I want you to die tomorrow. It's not that I want your money. It's just that We need to prepare. You know how much time people prepare going on a damn vacation? They will spend a whole year ahead of time planning this vacation that's going to last 2 weeks. But they don't want to plan a lifetime that their family has to live without them. And I tell people life insurance, the key word in life insurance is life. Because when I die, my children still have a life to live.
Right.
And I want to make sure that that life is in a certain lifestyle. My grandchildren will still be there. And I want to provide a certain lifestyle. The life insurance, death is the last thing we're talking about. I'm talking about what we're going to do in life. How are we going to make sure that people still live life in abundance the way it was meant to be lived? And a life insurance policy is something that can ensure that that abundance is acquired and met and passed on generationally, which is why I get hyped up about this conversation, because we have missed the boat on the conversations from real estate to investments to life insurance to education, putting ourselves in political positions. And it's high time we continue to bring these people on our show. And like I said, I challenge everybody watching this, make yourself vulnerable and go ask somebody in your family about their life insurance situation and be honest and vulnerable with them and tell them about your life insurance situation. Get your ducks in order. If you don't, everybody knows somebody who's in life insurance, trust me. But if you don't, reach out to somebody like Lee, reach out to somebody like myself, reach out to somebody like Benny. Reach out to somebody and get the information. Do yourself a favor. If you got a job, call the HR department tomorrow and figure out the 401k situation. If they don't offer a 401k, reach out to somebody like Lee again. Reach out to somebody like Benny or myself and figure out how you can start your own IRA. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. That just means I'm going to individualize my own retirement. And I tell people, even if you got a group retirement account, AKA 401k, you should still have your own IRA. You should still diversify your plan. You should have multiple things working for you, multiple streams of income. Life insurance, the last thing. That's the last thing I'm talking to you about. I need to make sure you got all these other things tied up in place before we talk about life insurance. A lot of people putting the cart before the horse. And like you said, Lee, I got group insurance. I got to do my job. Well, guess what? The day you retire, you're losing it. The day you retire, you're gonna lose it.
Well, if you don't plan on dying on that job, it ain't worth nothing.
Thank you.
Right.
If you don't plan on dying while you actually on the job,
laid off, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that are doing that right now. You're getting laid off and getting furloughed, so you're having to walk away, without all that money.
Yep.
And especially if if you think that life insurance is going to cover you everywhere,
right?
Majority of the times it does not. You have to die on the job for that to kick in.
You got to get robbed at the bank and get killed at the bank for them to pay it. You're not going to go on a trip to Tahiti with Lee and y'all playing tennis somewhere. You drop dead. You think that your Wells Fargo insurance paying your life insurance and you and Lee out there having fun on the tennis court. That's not how that happens. You need your own life insurance policy to cover that.
And the sad thing you say that is most of those are accidental death. If people if you read it, if you get it from a credit union or something, that you have to die by accident to get paid, but we also need like we have grandparents and stuff. They need to have those houses in the States.
Yep.
Yes.
It needs to be in a state so that you can pass that wealth on without getting taxed to death. Yeah. What is if you don't have it in the state, you can pay close to 50% tax.
Now, as of February 16th, that's gone up. So that was one of the new laws that just got implemented.
What about this? What about kids or grandkids coming together and paying for grandma's life insurance just to ensure that they do have something to help them out when grandma transitions? I've heard of people doing that as well. That's another practice that we don't really, let's two brothers, a sister, and a grandkid. Let's pay for grandma's life insurance since maybe she can't afford the $200 a month, and let's ensure that this legacy gets passed down to us.
Well, you see, I'm gonna tell you what happens. Grandma end up with diabetes, type 2, high blood pressure, taking a whole bunch of pills, and now she uninsurable. Because the other thing, health is wealth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Health is wealth. We got to eat right. We got to exercise. We got to take care. This is the only one we have. This is our temple, and we got to take care of it. And most of the time, you know, like it's we live in the information era. Generations back wasn't in that era. You know, I grew up in an all black neighborhood. Like, so I was in the neighborhood. They used to take the meat from other Safeways and bring it to the Safeway in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, that's how bad it was, you know, but we had to eat the worst part of the meat. You know, we had to eat fried food. It's not like that no more, but you get that's ingrained in us. You know, that's ingrained in us. On Christmas, we're gonna eat this. On New Year's, we're gonna eat this. You know, and it's a culture thing. And we have to be willing somewhere. You have to break the cycle. You know, we have to break the cycle of poverty. You know, being okay with poverty. We have to break the cycle of being okay of not being educated. You know, like there's nothing cool about that. You know, the older you get, you find out like I should have got my education. You know, and we can't walk through life just thinking that it's all about Michael Jordan's. You know?
Oh man, yeah. Somebody said to me the other day, because I talked about, I've been reaching out to quite a few individuals because of this new business endeavor that I launched, and you know, some of the questions that really struck me off was, well, how long is it going to take you to get that license? Well, how long is it going to take you to do that? And I'm like, I'm in the mindset of, well, as long as I'm blessed to see another day, I'm gonna continue learning. So it doesn't matter how long it's going to take me. If I'm still blessed to wake up that next day, and that's another opportunity for me to better myself, for me to grow further, and for me to get closer to that goal.
Right.
So that's where we get to a point to where we feel like we can't learn anything else. Right. And I'm not saying our culture, I'm just saying people in general. Like you should never have that mindset to where you're worried about how long something's going to take you, because one, if you keep living, you're going to regret that you didn't start when you first thought about it.
But you know, when you say that, Benny, you know, but those same people don't worry that I'm only getting a 1.5% raise this year.
Right.
You know, we signed a contract and we got 3 years and I'm gonna give you 1.5 every year. They don't worry about that. They don't think about that. I used to see people go crazy just out of pure excitement that we got a dime. You know, we got a 10-cent raise, but if you take 10 cents and times it times 8, what do you have? You know, when I was driving the bus, we took 2 hours off in the middle of each day. I couldn't change my uniform and I couldn't just go anywhere I wanted to go. I had to stay in uniform and I had to get back on that bus in 2 hours. So now I used to tell people, do the math. Don't take your hourly wage times 8, take it times 10 hours, because you actually here for those 2 hours, you are here.
Yep.
You know, and they would throw here go a 50-cent raise, and people are excited about it when there are people every day that's making as much as they want to make. You know, every day. You know, like we got to be willing to take a chance. Everybody should have some kind of home-based business. You know, everybody should try to do something else, you know, to generate multiple streams of income, because trust and believe at some point you're going to need them, you know, because if you get on a fixed income, there's a reason why they call it fixed. It ain't about to change. And everything goes up every year except for your income. You're in bad shape. You know, if we just think about how much eggs cost 5 years ago.
Jobs stand for just over broke. They pay you just enough
to keep
pay
you coming
your
back.
bills and keep you coming back.
Keep you coming back.
And you gotta find ways, like you said. I tell people all the when you master the art of letting your money work harder for you than you can for it, that's when you've done something.
That's when you become wealthy.
That's when
close to Warren Buffett. That's close to Warren Buffett's quote right there. You know, if I got it right here, sitting right here in front of me. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die.
And what does that mean? What does that entail? Let's break it down. That means that my 401k, if I got my money structured in a 401k, believe it or not, they're investing my money for me. You got Fidelity, Vanguard, some of the sharpest financial minds doing it over 100 years, investing your money, which means when I'm sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning in California, it's 6 o'clock East Coast time. My money at some point is working, it's changing, it's transacting while I'm sleeping. If I own a fourplex and people are renting it out and they paying my mortgage for me and then some, while I'm sleeping, somebody still got to pay rent, right? Which means I'm still making money at that point in time. Maybe I bought some cryptocurrency or some silver or some gold, and the gold is now raised, that precious metal, that commodity. My money's working for me while I'm sleeping. It's certain things that you can do, investments you can make. Somebody bought GameStop yesterday for $20, and while they slept, it jumped to $341. Money while you're sleeping. Because I know one thing. If you only gonna trade your time for money, and that's your only way of making money, you will be like that lady saying, I'm gonna work at Walmart for the rest of my life, because you trade your time for money. I'm only giving you 6 hours a day maximum. That's the most you're gonna get out of me trading some money for time. After that, I'm gonna put that 6 hours worth of money to work for the next 18 hours to allow me to do a show like this, to play some basketball, to work on my body, hang out with my kids, and be paid to do it from the 6 hours I put in previously.
Yeah, you got to leverage yourself. You
Very
know,
true.
when you work hourly, you're a liability. You're not one of the assets to the company. That's money going out. You're not bringing no money in. You know, and just look at automation, man. Look at when we were kids, there was no checkout at the store. You checked yourself out. I can remember when I was a kid where you went to the gas station. It was a gas station attendant.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found out I don't have to pay somebody to I could pay one person to turn these pumps on and off, you know? And what did it do? It started to get rid of jobs. It started getting people out of there. And I used to go stand in line just to keep people working, you know, not using the automation, you know,
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and then people look and it's like, can you see what's going on? You working here at this grocery store, can you see that they're trying to eliminate you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, zoop, that's all I have to do, and I'm in and out of the store, you know, and eventually it's going to be like that. It's going to take over everywhere. They talking about having trucks that'll drive themselves,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we're getting real close to that point. My car, I can hit a couple of buttons and that thing will go down the road for a good period without me touching the wheel. And I know a guy that has a Tesla, like that thing goes around curves and stuff at high speed without you touching the steering wheel. So it's just a matter of time that technology is catching up, you know, and we can put ourselves out. So we need to have something that's going to last through. Is it tried, tested, and true? Can it stand the test of time? What you doing, you know? And if not, you know, we got to reinvent ourselves. You know,
Right.
Don't think that you too old that I can't do nothing different. You got to reinvent yourself, because your best years can be right now. You know, it's a shame for the people that best years were high school. And I know we all know people like that. Their glory years were in high school, you know, but you can have your best years right now. I think what the minister that died, he was from the Bahamas. He said,
Dr. Monroe. He was a great
Monroe,
man.
Miles Monroe.
Miles
So
Monroe,
many
that's one of
things
my
are in the
favorite people.
grave. You know, he said he died at 30, but they buried him at 80. That means you quit living, you quit dreaming, you quit striving, and you just became a robot. I used to go to work and I was so programmed that I didn't even look around. When the lights turn red, hit your brakes. When you don't see lights, just keep driving. You know, and that's after being on the freeway every single day. And if you don't watch what you're doing, you go crazy. You know, you can't think about, oh, I got to drive 90 miles today just to get to work. You can't do it.
Yep.
You know, so you know, we have to be willing to reinvent ourselves. You know, we have to be.
And somebody that can help you with reinventing yourself is Dr. Miles Monroe, man. I found out about him about 5 or 6 years ago, and I listened to him religiously, man. He'll teach you about your marriage, your business, maximizing your time, having the right mind frame and the right mindset, the principles to success. I mean, just a great person. So if you ever need to recalibrate, he's a great person to help you recalibrate, get back on track. But I will tell you this, man. This has been one of my favorite conversations. I could talk to you for a couple of hours because this stuff right here is just, and it's no, we're not trying to make anybody feel less than or stupid or ignorant or anything like that. Because keeping it real, each of us at one point, we're at the point where we didn't know, like Lee
Very
said,
true.
he was doing the rule of 72 and didn't even know it. You know what I mean? At one point, he didn't know what a 401k was. I was the same way. So we all come from a point of, when I say ignorance, that doesn't mean bad. That means we just don't have the knowledge base. So
Right.
that's the purpose of us doing this, to throw that knowledge out there and let people know, okay, you know what? I do need to get some life insurance. Forget the $10,000 policy my grandmother have on me, because ultimately, if something happened to me, she's going to benefit. Plus, it's only $10,000. Let's keep it real. What's that going to do besides bury me? Let's look into something real. Let me look into some type of investment. If I'm going to start with my job or do it on my own, let me figure it out. Let me look into some real estate. We bring people from different genres, whether it's comedy, whether it's acting. We got somebody who's doing movie production coming up on Sunday, because people may have different thought processes, and we want to let people know this is the blueprint on how to get into comedy, blueprint on how to get into life insurance, blueprint on being an investor in real estate or in the stock market, blueprint on how to start your own hip hop network TV. Whatever it is, we want to be that spark to motivate people, to inspire people, to let people know Lee is tangible. He's out here in California, tangible for people to reach out and get some of that vast wealth of knowledge that he has and that he provides. So this is a great conversation for me. I appreciate you coming on. We got to have you back on our show, because this was just the tip of the iceberg. We didn't really go into and break down some stuff and really get into the depth of the trenches of what we could get into. But this was a great conversation, my brother. I love this conversation. I appreciate Benny for setting it up with you. And like I said, we got to have you back on, because this real talk right here, man. This is great conversation.
Well, man, I appreciate it. Benny asked me, me and him had we did a little Zoom talk, no, it wasn't no meeting or anything. We just kicked it on Zoom a little bit this afternoon. And I was like, yeah, man, for sure. Absolutely. Each one teach one, and it's just about empowering each other. We have to get that empowerment, because when you know better, you do better.
Yep, very true.
When you know better, you do better. Well, you supposed to,
Right.
If you find out something, you find out you was doing something wrong, you should be ready to make that correction and do it right. And I just know that, if you give us the shot, just give us the chance and we'll perform. Sometimes we just need that platform,
Yeah.
and somebody might hear this and say, I need to get it together. I need to get all of my financial things in order, because we all do, I mean, who can tell me I don't need to save money? Like, you
Right.
can't tell me you don't need to save money. I remember my mom used to always say, save for a rainy day. And when I was young, I'd be like, it's raining now, mommy, but that was that old wisdom. Like, you gotta put something away. You ain't gonna be able, when you get in your 50s and 60s, you can't run like you did when you were in your 20s and 30s. So you can't keep that same pace going, and you need to have something to fall back on. You need to. And that's the reason why they set these things up. They set them up where you don't pay taxes, it's tax deferred. But even with a Roth, like, it's after tax, but if you keep it for over 5.5 years, you don't pay no taxes on the gains. So, I mean, we always heard death and taxes. There's two things there's some stuff where you don't have to pay taxes.
Yep.
And that's what we're gonna talk about next show. So
we're gonna talk about the power of zero. The power.
Yes.
I'm sure you read that book. We're gonna talk about the power of zero.
That's what we're gonna dive in deep on that. And I'm glad you left that, because we're gonna leave that as a cliffhanger, because we're gonna make sure that you guys come back into this show, because this is what we do. This is what we put this together for. We are aiming to change your mindset, to change your conversations, to change your outlook on where you could be in life, because you can do it. And we're going to make sure that you have the information to do it. Like everybody said on the show, each one teach one, iron sharpens iron. And we're going to give you the platform to execute your excellence. Lee, I man, thank you so much for making the time. We really appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? If you guys like this show, if you guys want to continue to get enriched and nourished and enlightened, please stop by YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're on Facebook, we're on we're on LinkedIn.
Instagram.
Reach out, all that. We're accessible. We're in the neighborhood. Khalil's here. I'm here. Lee's here. We're all here to support and help and teach one. So please leave your comments. If there's something else you want us to talk about, leave it in the subscribe button, leave it in the comment button, but we'll make sure that we give the announcement for this next show, and we're going to dive in a little deeper and really map out some strategies to move your money and make your money work for yourself, work for you.
Lee, we appreciate you, man. Everybody, go have a candid, vulnerable conversation with somebody in your family. Seriously, let's take this thing like Lee said. It's action. It comes in a couple different phases: discovery, education, action, and then you got to analyze. But discovery, Lee, Benny, and I could sit here and discover that we all hungry, right? Lee's stomach growling. I'm like, Lee, your stomach. Benny, mouth watering. I'm over here. I'm getting a hunger headache. So we've now discovered we hungry, right? We're going to go into the kitchen and we're going to educate ourselves upon what we have in the kitchen and realize we have nothing. We've educated ourselves. There's nothing in our cupboards. But we can then go to the store and do analysis as far as, you know what I mean? What we have in the kitchen and what we need to get from the grocery store. Based upon our education, we now do an analysis at the grocery store on what we need. But until Benny, Lee, or myself come home and cook, we still gonna be hungry. The hardest step is to take the action. We've all discovered, like Lee said, you show me a man that don't need to save, or a woman, anybody that doesn't need to save money, and I'll show you a fool, okay? We've all discovered we need to save money. It's a matter now of educating ourselves of the manners in which to save the money, analyze those processes, but ultimately you gotta take action. Because if you don't take action, you're gonna be hungry. And that's the last thing we want, is for you to be hungry. We want everybody to eat. It's enough out there for all of us to eat, okay? Right. It's enough out there for all of us to eat. Legal share information is not taken away from his food on his table. Benny sharing information, that's not taken away from food on his table. If anything, it's allowing us now to eat family style, to where when you come to Benny and Lee's house, you got a plate to bring to the offering, and we can now eat that much more abundantly. So reach out to us. If you know somebody from any of these other platforms, the Wall Street Trapper, the Monday guys who doing things, Earn Your Leisure, any of those guys doing shows, please put them in touch with us, because our thing is trying to connect all these different platforms and making it one big universal movement for our community. So we thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you, Lee, for coming on. This is the first of many shows that you will be on. Benny, you my brother. I love you. I'll be at you. And Global Empowerment Team signing out, everybody.
Everybody take care.
All right now.